Hi, welcome to Jesuit Media Conversations. My name is Kiley Feller, and today I'm interviewing Dr. Price about his new position at Jesuit. Welcome. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to chatting.
For anyone who doesn't know, what currently is your job at Jesuit?
So I currently teach English. Last semester and the year before that, I taught theology, but right now it's English. So
Great.
Yeah, it's a long-term sub position, so sort of where I'm needed. I help out.
Yeah. And how did you get to Jesuit? What was kind of your background before this?
Yeah, so for those who don't know my story, I did a PhD at UCLA in Near Eastern languages and cultures, focusing on Hebrew Bible. And I have family in the Portland area, so when I finished, I came back here and was adjunct teaching at UCLA and Portland State and George Fox, a few other places. And I saw a position open here for a long-term sub teaching scripture, and that's kind of my specialty. And I was very interested in sort of seeing what teaching at the high school level is like, and wanted to try it out. And so, I applied and got the job and ended up here and really loved teaching at the high school level and loved being in the Portland area.
And what kind of were the main differences you saw? Like what sort of changed between teaching at a university level versus a high school level?
Yeah, I would say the big difference, and it's kind of, I would say, to the credit of high school teaching. High school teaching I've found to be much more student-centered, where college teaching, the default is kind of conceived as more of like a content delivery system with experts just telling you about their expertise and what they know, whereas high school I feel is much more intentionally driven towards let me invite students into the inquiry process and have them sort of explore and discover and sort of construct knowledge with the instructor rather than just passively sitting and listening. And I actually think a lot of college teaching would be a lot more effective if it was more student-centered.
Do you think that would change if it was like at a smaller college versus a big college? Do you think size kind of changed that?
Actually I do. I think size, so most of my experience was at UCLA, which is called an R1, a Tier 1 research institution. So a lot of the faculty are really focused on their own research processes. And obviously in the sort of elite experts in their field across the world, but smaller liberal arts colleges and even junior colleges I think tend to be a lot more student-centered in their instructional tendencies, I guess.
That's really interesting. So kind of moving towards what you're doing at Jesuit in the future, so what's the new position look like? I know you're moving kind of towards the library, sort of. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So I was very excited to see this posting, and a reason for that is a big component of it is offering support in research and writing, which I have a lot of personal experience in, like writing my own dissertation and publishing in some peer-reviewed journals. I'm very passionate about that, so I was excited to see that this job sort of partly focuses on that, while also offering, I understand a big part of the job is just offering day-to-day support as well of everything that the CLARC does, with tutoring and just managing and testing and just managing the day-to-day stuff. So it's kind of like a two-part, helping manage the day-to-day stuff of the CLARC, but then developing materials to support students in research and writing as well.
Totally. And what do you see for the future of the CLARC?
Yeah, I think as far as what changes we'll see is sort of up in the air, but I think on a general note, students can expect to find a lot more resources that are focused on helping them in those projects that are research-based, and having sort of a point person they can come to for research support and writing support, right? It's I think it's nice to have a position that's focused on this because so many of your teachers, they're managing literally hundreds of student projects,
Right.
and so it's it's difficult to continuously give meaningful feedback throughout the process for hundreds and hundreds of students. So having someone who can be a support in doing that, I think will hopefully be really helpful.
Well, that's great. I'm really looking forward to that, and just like having that kind of like individual support, because I know Jesuit has a lot of research-based projects, and it can get kind of overwhelming, just like not knowing where to begin. So I think that's a really cool system in place. So.
Great, awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure. Thank you for watching another episode of Q&A Conversations. My name's Kiley Feller, and producing this episode is Soleil Scott. And if you want more from Jesuit Media, you can check us out on our Instagram at JesuitHS Media or online at JesuitMedia.com.